thanks for that. You can all hear me all right? Yes? Great. Okay. Well, still some spaces, all right. Who brought the Rubik's Cube today? Okay. Who's never heard of the Rubik's Cube before? Okay. Who can do one face? Okay. Just checking. Okay. Let's just go for it. 30 years ago, well, there's some overcast skies in Africa and pretty good day in Europe. But then people noticed that all of a sudden there was a lot of cubes in the toy shops. Everywhere. Everywhere were cubes, right? And basically from that day on, the world was not the same again. Right? So for a couple of weeks, months, everybody was playing with the cube. They didn't do really any work. I mean, I can still remember it. I was there. Everybody was doing the cube, right? Really everybody. So when the cube hit me, that took out like 2 weeks of my life. Right? Just like that. I don't remember anything there except for playing with the cube. So roughly like this, for 2 weeks. That's actually not me. That's one of my little ones was sitting there. I couldn't find a photo of me doing the cube, but I simulated one. Okay. So that's me doing the cube. And I actually grew up in Germany. So in Germany we call it the Zauberwürfel. Does anybody know what that means? It's called the magic cube, right? So the magic cube. So what I want to do first is I want to do a bit of a warm-up for what's going to come here. So some of it's going to be fairly heavy math stuff. But there's also going to be a lot of entertainment here. So for this one, I need a little bit of a volunteer. There's a volunteer right here. Can just stay there? Okay, what we'll do is I just warm up a little bit with those Rubik's Cubes, okay? And you say stop at some point. Okay, so I'll get this one here. I give that to you. Don't do anything with it yet, okay? What I want you to do is, I want you to just, when I turn around and not face you, twist one of the faces, any one of the faces, okay? And then you give it to me behind my back, okay? You still know which cube it is? It's this one, okay? So you twist one face, please. Just one face. Give it to me behind my back. Yeah, I'm going to try and solve it, okay? Well, let's have a look. Not quite, but I think we can get it done now. I'm good. Okay, so I want to talk about the Rubik's Cube, and that's what you're all here for. But actually, we want to go. So it's the Rubik's Cube's 30th anniversary this year. Not really. I mean, it was really invented a lot earlier, but it took Rubik, the inventor, a long time to actually sell it. So it's like a Harry Potter-like story. So he got rejections letter left and right saying, "This nobody will be interested in this." No, nobody. Nobody will be interested in the cube. So it took like 6 years to actually sell this to people, and then, well, somebody made a lot of money. So in the meantime, 350 million of those have been sold. At least that's official figures. I think it's probably close to 1 billion if you do all the pirate copies. All right, now let's go, not 1980, let's go 100 years earlier. Curiously enough, there was another puzzle craze at that point in time. Pretty much exactly the same happened then. Another puzzle appeared out of nowhere, spread like wildfire, and everybody was playing it like all over the world. And you may have seen this before. It's called the 14-15 puzzle, or just the 15 puzzle. And it's basically just a box like this, and it's 15 pieces numbered 1 to 15 in it. And there's a space here, and you can slide the pieces around and arrange things. Now, the puzzle, the way it was posed at the time, was actually like this. So you have everything in order except for the last two pieces. So they were not in order. And the challenge was to manipulate those pieces around in the box and fix up the order. And you swap them around. Okay, nobody could do it actually. So they were trying for months and nobody could do it. There was a $100 award out. $100, of course, in 1880 was a lot of money. Nobody could do it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to tell you about this puzzle. It's actually very similar to the Rubik's Cube. And there's a lot of things that you can learn from this that apply to the Rubik's Cube. It's a lot simpler puzzle than the Rubik's Cube. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to tell you everything about this puzzle. Okay, so here we go. So first we're going to cheat. It's very important to cheat. I just did. So this is the 15 puzzle. This is my version of the 15 puzzle here. Just a photo of it. What I want you to show us is how to solve this when you can cheat. Now this is just a box with squares in it. Now you're supposed to just slide these around, but if you can cheat, how would you cheat? Well, you just tip all the things out and then put the 1 in, put the 2 in, put the 3 in, put the 4 in. Solved, right? $100. Nobody's going to give you the $100, but let's just see what we can do with something like this. Now I want to not cheat, really, really badly. I just want to cheat a little bit at a time. So just tiny little cheats. So what I want to do is I want to take 2 pieces out at a time and swap their position. And I want to do lots of those swaps and get this in order. And the surprising thing is you can always do this. So let's just have a look at this. So for example, this 1 that has to go up there, where the 2 is. So I swap the 1 and the 2. I leave everything else unchanged. Okay? So there, everything else unchanged. And they're in the right place. Now the 2 wants to go there, so I swap the 2 and the 9. The 3 wants to go there, so let's take the 3 out, the 15 out. I really take them physically out. I'm cheating, right? I'm cheating. And swap them around. And then the 4 goes there, so I swap those 2 around. And then the 5 is down here, swaps with the 9. And then the 6 has to swap with the 14. And then the 7 with the 11. And the 8 is the 15. And what's next? 9 is this one here. 10 is already in the right place. 11 and 15 swap. 15 and 12 swap. And then just one more swap here. And it's solved. Nobody's going to give me $100. But, basically that's how you can do it. Now, for later, what's important here is that you can always, anything that's jumbled up, you can solve the swaps. So let's have a look. There's a couple of laws for swaps. The first one is anything can be solved. So for example, if I have this lecture theater here, right, and I want to put in a certain order, say the littlest one over here, let's put this littlest one, he's already there. Well, okay, so I take that littlest one, and I swap him with the almost littlest one next to him. All right. Applause for that. And then I identify the next littlest one, right? Hey! These are supposed to be static, okay? So what I can do, I can arrange the whole lecture theater in order by just doing swaps, right? Having people get up, like in pairs, swap positions. I can always do this, right? So that's kind of a universal thing to swaps. What's really nice is you're only changing very little things, everything else stays unchanged. There's a second law to swaps, which is actually very, very deep and comes up in mathematics all over the place, and hardly anybody knows about this. So what I could do is, I could ask like 5 volunteers here to arrange the lecture theaters with swaps, okay? And we all would be doing this slightly differently. So maybe, that one guy here, he's really completely clueless, right? So he goes for it. And like after 1,000 swaps, he finally dawns on him what to do, right? And then he solves it. Now, all these methods will be completely different, okay? All will be completely different. But they all have one thing in common. When you check what number of swaps they use, those numbers are either always going to be even or always going to be odd. Always. Right? So I fixed this lecture theater maybe with 43 swaps. Somebody else swaps it with 73 swaps. The numbers are always going to be odd. One is odd, all of it is going to be odd. For example, I just did this one here with 12 swaps. I could ask one of you guys to try and solve it. Whatever happens, you might take a lot longer or shorter or whatever. The number of swaps is going to be even or odd? Even, because 12 is even. 12 is even. So, okay. So here's the test question. This is the original puzzle. Okay, this is the original puzzle. if you solve it, just by swapping things, by cheating, is your number going to be odd or even? Can everybody see that it's odd? Why? Because we can solve it by just swapping this guy here, right? So this is 1, it's an odd number. Anything else you do here, you can go completely wild, make something completely nonsensical, you can come back to the full solution. The number is going to be odd. So that's going to be very important for later on. And it's not easy to show that this is the case, but it's true. So it's odd. Okay. Now, let me actually show you how to solve this thing. Legal moves, okay? Legal moves. So here we go. Okay, that's me, pre-recorded. I'm getting the 1 in place, 2 is there already. I was lucky, no, it's not as cheating. Okay, then I'm bringing the 5 up. 5 up. 5 is in place. Now the 6 has to go up in its place. 9 is in the way. I move it out of the way temporarily, move it over. I drop the 9 down. The 6 is there, the 7 is there, the 8 is there. Fantastic. So I bring the 9 over here. Then the 10 has to go in this place. That's fine. 11. Now the 12 is blocked, so we make some room for it. We drop the 15 down. And that solves the first 3 rows. All clear? Well, actually, I can promise you, if you play this game, like for 5-10 minutes, you'll always be able to do what I just did. Okay? So this puzzle, the part that's easy is to fix up those first 3 rows. That's always easy. I mean, if you just spend a little bit of time on this, you're always going to be able to do the first 3 rows. I can top out this box any way I want, put the pieces back in any random order, and put the first 3 rows. It's not a big deal. Okay, not a big deal. Now the only thing that you can be lucky now, and 13, 14, 50 is in order, in which case you've solved the puzzle. But there's a good chance that they will be out of order. And then you have to actually think a little bit. So the really hard part about the puzzle is doing the bottom part. Okay. Now I'm going to show you this in a little while. But for the moment, let's just have a look at one of those moves. Okay, so there's a move. Have a really close look at the move. So move. Okay, can you see anything swapping here? Can you see anything swapping? Can't see anything swapping? Can anybody see anything swapping here? The blank square and? The blank square and the 13 are swapping places, right? So the blank square and the 13 are swapping places. They're swapping. So really when we do our solution, we are actually swapping. We are adopting a special kind of strategy in which we swap pieces. That's good, right? We can apply our universal laws of swaps. Okay, so basically you can just consider this as an extra block here, a white block. And the rules of the game is, to solve it, you always have to swap the white block with one of its adjacent blocks. It's exactly the same game, right? But then we can phrase the whole thing in terms of swaps. Okay. So now let's have a look at the white space. So we're doing our solve, right? Doing the solve. The white space moves left, moves up, moves up, moves up, moves over, moves down, moves right. So what does the white space do? It goes for a walk. It starts that. It goes for a walk. It starts here in that corner and goes, just kind of goes around here, and eventually when the position is solved, where is it going to be? It's going to be back where it started. So it's going for a round trip, right? And let's just count a couple of those trips. So you could go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 40. Then 1, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What do all these trips have in common? They're all? Are you sure? Well, they all said even, but there were only 3 or 4 who said yes. All sure? Yes. Okay, just to show you that this really works at one glance, what we're actually doing is we're going for a walk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What we're doing is, we're always going red, green, red, green, red. No, what we do red, green, okay? So we're going something like this. Red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green, red. We always end up on a red. So it's always red or green, red or green. There's the same number of red and green squares in our journey. There's an even number here of squares, means an even number of steps. You can see it in one glance. Everybody see it in one glance? That wasn't everybody. But you can see it's mostly even, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Always even. Okay, always even. Okay, now back to the puzzle. Okay, our checkerboard trick shows us what? This is the challenge, right? This is the challenge. We have to fix it up. We have to fix it up. The checkerboard trick shows us what? How many moves are we going to need if we can solve this? Even or odd? The checkerboard trick. What does the checkerboard trick say? The checkerboard trick says if the square here goes for a walk, it always takes an even number. Always takes an even number, right? If we can solve this, it takes an even number. Okay. On the other hand, what does our swap law says? It says it's got to be odd. So what's the conclusion from all this?
It's impossible.
It can't be done. So it can't be done. So what I've actually done at the moment is I've given you a proof that this can't be done. That's a mathematical proof that you can't solve this puzzle. So all the people who actually tried to solve it, all these, and were hoping for the $100, they were doomed from the very beginning, right? That's not so good, okay. But anyway, yep.
If you swap the 14 and the blank.
Yeah, then it's fine. Well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can do that, right?
Yeah,
As
yeah.
one move.
Yeah, that's right, but
then
we're
you're
supposed.
looking at a game where the blank is on like a green from before.
That's right.
And it would be odd.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got
It
to.
sounds like you'd be able to do it.
No. No, it's really not possible. So you're supposed to start like this, you're supposed to end like this. It's not possible. With my authority, I say it's not possible, okay. Okay, now here comes a bit of an interlude. So why is that here? Does it mean that we're going to talk about Rubik's Cube now? No. I just showed this to my wife yesterday and she was saying, you're talking too much, you need something explosive at this point. So I put this in, right? I always listen to my wife, always. Why? Because I get into trouble if I don't. So even if you can solve the Rubik's Cube, you still listen to your wife. Okay, so the original puzzle is not possible, okay, not possible. Now we started, just a while ago we started actually solving this thing. I showed you how to do the first 4 rows, and I tried to sell to you the first 4 rows are always easy to do. The only thing that you have to worry about is the last three. And I want to show you a quick trick how to do the last 3. What we're going to do is, we're going to move them in a circle. Let me just show you what that looks like. So we're going to move, and move them in a circle for a little while. Let's keep on going. Okay, so what have we done? We've taken this top row and moved it around so that it's all nestled up here now. Okay, so it's all nestled up here. And then the 3 that are kind of out of order are over here. So I can swap those around now to make them go where I want them to go. There. And now if I do everything in return, what will happen? Well, those 4 guys are going to move back into where they were. And those 3 guys, they're going to move here and this puzzle is going to be solved. So this basically, always works, except, if you swap those 2 around, it's not going to work, because then you can turn. Well, we'll see this in a second. So basically, the puzzle is really, since the first 3 rows are easy, you're going to end up with one of those 6 different ways of putting 13, 14, 15 in the last row. So you have to somehow deal with them, right? And we just had a problem with this one here, right? And doing the trick that I just showed you, what does that do? It just takes the 13 and swaps it over here. So these 3 get cycled around. If I cycle, so that solves it, right? So you start here, you put that 13 over with my trick, and it gives 13, 14, 15. So that's solved. You can also swap again. That would give 15, 13, 14. It's doing exactly the same trick that would get you here. And if you do 40, 15 and move it there, you get 13, 14. Get back to that one. So if you get either of those 3, you can solve the puzzle. Okay? So that's pretty good. So it's pretty good. Now, you can also end up with one of those 3, and they can also cycle into each other. And we already know this can't be done. So all 3 can't be done. So if you start out with the box, top it out, put the bits back in, any of those positions is equally likely that you get it. So what's the chance of you actually being able to solve the puzzle? What's the chance?
1 in 2.
Without cheating, yeah. If you cheat, you can do anything. Okay, if you don't cheat, you're equally likely to end up on this side and on that side. So you've got a 50-50 chance of actually being able to solve this. Now, with many of the versions of this puzzle that you can actually buy, you can actually not take out the piece, so you can't cheat. So it starts out solved, and then you kind of shuffle it around. If you have a puzzle like this, you'll always be able to solve it. Right? So the only way you can actually get into one of those positions here is by physically taking out a piece and putting it back in again. But if you've got a puzzle in which everything's locked, you're basically locked on this side here, so you never get out. Okay, so we're almost at the cube now. Just one more. How many positions does this puzzle have? So why does this picture here? I really had to do it because the other little one was in there already. So my second little one said I want to be in there too. So I had to do a quick Photoshop action this morning, right? So we've got an empty box. She's holding all the 15 pieces here. And how many different ways can she put them in the box so they get a blank square here? Well, I've got the number there. It's fairly easy to calculate. You've got 15 pieces here. Up here you can put all 15 of them. Then one is gone from the hand. There's 14 left. I can put 14 in the second spot. Then there's 13 left. I can put 13 different ones here. 12 left. Can put 12 here. You can multiply all these numbers together. 15 times 14 times 13 times 12 all the way down. Gives you all the positions. That's how many positions there are for this puzzle. It's a pretty big number. Isn't it a big number or not? Half of those are possible and half are not. All right. So this is Lara. Okay, so finally the cube. What about the cube? Well, let's just have somebody, a real expert, solve the cube for you, okay? It's Tiger Woods. He looks pretty confident to get to it. All right. So, did he actually solve the cube? Well, maybe not. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the cube. Oh, well, what happened to that cube? Right, so you can do the same thing as with the 15 puzzle. You can take it apart, and that's actually quite easy now. Many people say they have solved it by taking off the stickers. Don't take off the stickers. Stickers taking off method is actually not good because the stickers never will stick again. Right? So what you really want to do is you want to take apart your cube and make it into a jigsaw puzzle. So what you do is you just twist the top a little bit, and then this edge comes out very easily, and then the whole thing just kind of goes like this. Who wants to put it together again? Okay, great. So I better move this aside. So it's always very easy to do this. Putting it together is, well, it's also not too hard. So in how many different ways can we put this thing together? How many different ways can we put this together? Well, the number's up there. The number is up there. So it's a bigger number than before. That's what it is. That's what it is. So there's an 8 here, a 3 here, a 12 here, a 2 here. What do these numbers come from? There's 8 corners to a cube. That's where the 8 comes from. There's 12 edges. That's where the 12 comes from. Okay, now if we want to put the 8 corners in the 8 corner positions, we can do this in this many ways. It's just 1 times 2 times 3 times 4, all the way up to 8. There's a 12, that's called 12 factorial, it's called 8 factorial. That's the number of ways in which you put the edges, these guys here, in the edge positions. But that's not all. If you actually have a look at one of those pieces here, this is for example an edge, they've got two sides to them. So you can actually flip them around like this. So there's 2 different ways in which you can put them in 2 different orientations. And of course there's 12 of those, so you have another 2 to the power of 12 different orientations to worry about. And then you've got corner pieces. They've got 3 colors on them. So you can twist them in 3 different ways. And there's 8 of them. That gives another factor here, 3 to the power of 8. That gives you this huge, humongous number. Okay. Now, we put this thing together. So what's the chance now of you actually being able to solve this with legal moves? It's well, if all those pieces here, if all those pieces were just numbered like with the 15 puzzle, sort of numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, take it apart and put it back together, you know, what's the chance that you get them back in the right order? It's also 1 and 2. But because of this additional orientations, the chance is actually 1 in 12. So if you put this thing randomly together, not worrying about where things go, you have a 1 in 12 chance of actually being able to solve it like this. Okay, so let's have a look. That gives you this many operations here. So basically, if you still got 8 here, 8 factorial and 12 factorial, that 7 here, there's 1 less than up there, so there's a 3 there, and the 2 here has 2 less up in the exponent, so that's 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 3 is 12. You have to divide this number by 12 to get that number. So that's the total number of positions. That's the number that always gets branded around in news reports, now you know where it comes from. So this is 43 quintillion. So just know, quintillion. Okay.
Why don't we do something to take our minds off the storm? Ooh, a Rubik's Cube. Let's all work it together.
Okay, start with diagonal colors.
Use your main finger on the yellow side and your other finger on the orange side and turn it.
My main finger?
Orange
Just go backward. Oh, turn it forward.
One at a time.
Spin the middle side topwise. Topwise.
Now I remember why I put this down there in the first place.
So as part of this talk, as part of any of the talks like this, Martin and I actually always go out and get all the possible movie clips that we can lay our hands on that have anything to do with this. So, you know, I've already shown you a couple, there will be more. Okay, now, how do you actually solve the cube? So how do you solve the cube? Well, you have it jumbled up like this. So somebody jumbled it up for you, and usually don't take it apart until they're really mean, right? So if you really want to muck it up for somebody, right, what you do is, you basically take them to the 14-15 equivalent of the 14-15 puzzle. What you do is, you take a solved cube, take out one of the corner pieces, don't show this to anybody, put the thing back in the other way, jumble it up, you'll never be able to do it. So there's a 14-15 equivalent. There's a couple of other things you can do, you know. So this is one of the really mean things you can do. So usually that's not what happens. Usually you just take one of those solved cubes, you jumble it up, and then you want to solve it again. And can you do this? Can you always do it? Can you always do it? Yeah. Of course, you can just do the moves in reverse, and that will solve the cube, right? So you, like this one, I do this. If I do it in reverse, solve, right? Solve. Almost got as much applause like my behind the back trick. It was for the cheap things, you know. Okay. Right. So, but that's not what people do, right? That's not what people do. Well, just like with the 14-15 puzzle, there's a lot of freedom in this puzzle. So with the 14-15 puzzle, I told you, it's always easy to do the first 4 rows, right? I mean, even somebody who's never done this before will be able to do the first 4 rows within, you know, a couple of minutes. Okay, so a couple of minutes. Same thing with the cube, right? There's a lot of freedom in here where I can move things around. What most people can do after a while is fix up just one of the layers. Let's see where that's this top layer here. The cube has also suffered a little bit. So just the top layer. So people can fix up this one, the rest will be jumbled. Okay, so the rest will be jumbled. Who can do that again? The first layer? Maybe not now, but ever sometimes, like 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago you could do it. Maybe not anymore? Well, quite a few people. Okay. So quite a few people can do this. So top layer can be done. Now the problem with this is now, if you've got the top layer and you want to do anything else, you're going to destroy it. So I make any move, I'm going to destroy the top layer. Right? Well, the only thing I can do is do like this, but you don't get very far if you just keep on turning this. Huh? So if you want to do anything sensible and want to fix up the rest of the cube, you have to do something else. Okay. Now, at the time, when the cube came out, I actually sat down and worked out a system for myself. It was really, really painful experience. Like 2 weeks of just trying. Eventually I had a kind of a method together to do this. Always. In the meantime, there have been lots of these methods developed, and you can find them on the internet all over the place. And basically they tell you how to do the cube. So the basic principle is like this. So you've built up the cube to some stage like this, right? And now you want to put other pieces in place, right? So what you now need is some recipes, some sequence of moves that leave whatever you've done so far unchanged and manipulate small parts of the cube. Right? So for example, just think back to swaps, right? Think back to swaps. If you've got a jumbled cube like this, and we had like a move that leaves everything on the cube unchanged except for swapping 2 corners. Right? So we could swap all the corners then with this sort of combination into place. Right? So we could pretty much put them all into place. If we had a move that swapped two edges pieces here, we could use it over and over and over again to move all the edges into place. And then maybe if we had another move that only flipped one of those things around, which is not possible, then we could fix up all the orientations here. So that's the basic idea, right? You want moves that leave large parts of the cube unchanged and only manipulate small parts of it. Okay, there's lots of these sequences have been found. So for example, once you've done your bottom layer maybe, there's moves that allow you to fix up the remaining corners here. And then once you've got the remaining corners, there's other moves that allow you to fix up those edges. And then there's just 4 more edge pieces left. And there's like maybe 2 more sequences that do this whole thing. So, I mean, a lot of people can do this, right? By just following a recipe, fixed recipe. But of course, for a mathematician, that's not really solving the cube. So I want to show you, I just want to give you an idea of how you would actually solve the cube itself. And that's going to be the hardest part of the talk, okay? It's going to be the hardest part of the talk. All right. If it wasn't hard enough already. Okay, no, that's my email. Don't want to see that. But we do. Okay, so I've got a little virtual cube here. And basically what I'm trying to sell you is anybody who can do the first layer, you can do the first layer? You can do the first layer? Okay, if you can do the first layer, you can do anything with the first layer. So for example, if you, let's just switch off the rest of the pieces. Let's turn this into one of my strange cubes. So I've just taken out the color from the bottom here. Okay, so if you can do the first layer, what you can do anything with this first layer. So for example, you can take out this piece, just manipulate it around, and put it back in so that it's swapped its orientation. Or you can take a corner around and just twist it a little bit. Or you can take 2 pieces and swap them. So I said swaps are good, right? Or you can take 2 corners and swap them around. If you can do the first layer, and don't worry about what happens down there, that's the main thing, you can do anything with this first layer. And there are lots of movements to do this. And what I'm trying to sell you is, if you can do the first layer, you can think your way through the whole cube. And there's like one magic ingredient for the whole thing, and I'm going to try to describe this to you, okay? So the first thing I'll try to do is, I'll show you how you flip one of those corners without worrying about the bottom. At the moment the bottom is fixed, okay? Okay, so here we go. So just one way of doing this, there's many different ones. And you can use all of them for anything that you do. So I move some things out of the way first, and I'm going to flip that corner here, that flip corner here. So I turn this over down to the bottom, and bring the sides back. So now the top is unchanged, except for this one has moved. Okay, so move this one over, up, and move them back. So now the only thing that's changed at the top is we've had a flipping here. Nothing else has changed here. But the bottom has been messed up. So I'll show you what happened there. So the bottom has been messed up, right? So the bottom has been messed up. So it's no good, you know. I mean, if you're there and you want to keep that fixed and want to change stuff up here, you know, it's not good. So how could we fix this now? How can you fix that bottom layer again? Or how can you fix the whole cube? What can you do? You can just reverse the whole thing, right? So I can reverse the whole business, and that will do what? That will flip this edge here, we'll leave the rest of the top unchanged, and we'll fix up the bottom. Okay, let's just show you what happens there. I'll just go reverse, right? You can see here, there's some sort of notation for this. Turning the right face, turning the left face backwards, turning the front face, these sorts of things. And so I'm just going backwards now. So I'm switching to backwards and just show you what happens. So going backwards to the front. So I'm just reversing all my steps here. And solve. And solve. Okay. Now just forwards again. Okay. So I'll do the same thing again. What's going to happen? So just doing it again. I really like this move, as you can see. Okay. So now we're here. Now comes the magic ingredient. Okay. The main thing is, if I go backwards, I'm flipping this thing on. I'm leaving I'm restoring the bottom, and I leave the rest of the top unchanged. Okay? So can we all say this after me? We're flipping this one. Leave the rest of the top unchanged. And restore the bottom. Perfect. Okay. Now, if I go reverse, I solve the cube, but it's completely useless. Okay, I'm not going to do this. What I'm going to do is I give the top a twist. I give the top a twist. And now I'm going to go backwards. What's going to happen is exactly what you just said. We're going to switch that one here. We're going to leave the rest of the top unchanged, and we're going to restore the bottom. That's what's going to happen. Right? That's what's going to happen. Okay, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Go. So we're doing this thing in reverse now. I'm doing it in reverse. Okay. So now it's been reversed. Okay, now it's been reversed. But we just did a turn in this direction, so I'm going to turn back. And what did that do now? It restored the bottom. It restored the bottom. And it's only flipped those two guys. Nothing else of the cube has been changed. I'll show you. So nothing else has been changed. Can you see that? So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So with this whole combination now, what you can do is you can fix up the orientations of all the edges. So you can, maybe this is messed up here, so the orientation of this piece and that piece is not right. So what I'll do is I'll just do this move, and it will flip this one, and it will flip that one. And then maybe this one is messed up. I don't care. This one is solved. So I'll turn this one. We'll maybe mess this one up. I don't care. Those two are solved. Then I'll turn this one maybe. That will fix up 3 edges and turn this one. Okay, I don't care. So maybe I can keep on going like this and fix all the edges just with this moves. Right? And you can construct one of those moves just by yourself. So you can do the top layer. You can do the top layer. That means you can come up with a sequence that just flips something like this. That can be completely different from mine. It doesn't matter. You just note down what you do on a piece of paper. Then you give the top layer a twist and do whatever you've written down on your piece of paper. Can be really complicated in return. And it will do exactly the same as what I did. Do this. And basically you can construct many moves that just manipulate very small parts of the cube using this sort of idea. I'll just show you one more, and then I'll let you go. And what I plan to do is, I actually plan to do a little bit of this on YouTube. So anybody who wants to revisit this after the talk, maybe just send me an email, and then you can go through this again. So let's just do, move some things. Okay, switch off the cube again. Bottom is black. Now what we're going to do is, I'm going to switch the position of those two things. We want to move stuff, right? At the moment, we have only switched orientation. So I want to swap those two things around. Swapping would be good. If I had a move that swapped those two guys, I could do anything with the edges, right? Swapping can do anything. So let's just do this just with the top layer without worrying about the bottom. So here we go. Now what are we going to do? Cycle edges. So I take one of the edges out. I swap it with the other one. Now let's just bring it back to where the other one was before. Okay, so now those two guys have swapped positions. So they have swapped positions. But of course, the bottom of the cube is messed up. Let's just have a look at the rest of the cube. Messed up, right? So what do we do now? We give the top a twist and do the whole sequence in reverse and see what happens then. Okay? So we'll can actually see what happens. So make it, let's make it black again. Oops. Okay, keep on going. So we give it a twist, and now we do the same thing that I just did in reverse. So all in reverse, and as I said, you can do your own moves here. You can exactly do your own moves. I don't really mind what you do. Anything will work here. So, what effect does that have now? Let's go back to the cube. Well, just one more twist. And it's restored. So everything's restored except 3 pieces have moved. Can you see the 3 pieces? Okay, so there was an orange one here first. That has moved over here. There was a yellow one here that has moved over there. And the yellow one, the red one that was here on this side, that has moved over there. So basically the effect that this whole maneuver has is to cycle things in like this. And with those, you can also usually put all the edges in the right order. It's not quite as good as swaps, but it's almost as good. So it's almost as good. And anything else can be done like this. So, just to remember, if you pick up the Rubik's Cube maybe for the first time, and you play with it for an hour, and you figure out how to do the first layer, you can actually, with this simple idea, think your way through the whole cube to the very end. So you just try to figure out what the first layer is, and then construct some of those sequences of moves that leave very little of the cube unchanged. So that's a kind of really a magic key to the cube, and not only to the cube, but to many, many other puzzles that are built like this. So for example, things get harder, The same sort of idea. First layer is easy. Once you've got the first layer, you do the same sort of things and you get all the way to the end. Okay, now, back. Okay. What happens when you've solved it?
Dude, I almost got it, dude. You're really starting to irk me with your Rubik's Cube fixation. No wonder those things are so impossible.
Oh no, you've activated the continuum transfunctionary.
Alright, what's going on?
Once all 5 of the Daruji crystals stop flashing, the universe is going to be destroyed.
Well, so the 2 different things we've experienced already. Either this cube gets solved and it explodes and all the room has been redecorated, right? Remember that one? Or this turns into a doomsday machine. Okay, well, so where do we go from here? I've got another clip, one of my favorite clips. So that's what a lot of people do. They get really fast at doing this. Okay? And there's actually a group of people here in Melbourne, and all over the world, this is kind of a growing movement. There's people who try to solve the Rubik's Cube as fast as they can possibly do, and it's called speed cubing. Okay, speed cubing. And we've actually got somebody very special here in the audience. His name is Felix Zemdex. He's here from Melbourne, and he holds the current world record for fixing up the cube. And I believe he's going to give us a demonstration of his amazing skills. So can we welcome Felix to the stage, please? Right, microphone, wait. Let's get this microphone. I do a really professional interview now.
Okay, Felix.
With a microphone. Right. Should never do this because there's 2 microphones. Okay, so we do the interview like this. Okay, so welcome, Felix.
Yep, thanks.
You're the man, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what exactly does your record consist of?
I have the record for the average of 5 solves. Which, So in a competition for a round, you do 5 solves of these, and then they get rid of the best and worst, and then they take the average of the remaining 3.
Okay.
That's what I have the world record for.
All right. Okay. So, and we're not going to tell them how fast you are. Okay. We're just going to show them. I'm going to show them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll jumble it up for you. Extra hard. Okay. Extra hard. A couple more? All right. Okay. That really did it. Okay. Now, so we can turn around. So then the way it works is you have a look at it, right?
Yep.
You have a look at it
We have,
first?
15 seconds to look at it.
So you have 15 seconds to look at it.
You can usually, you start whenever you want. I usually start about 8 seconds.
Okay. So you just put it and then you go for it, right? Go. And then it was obviously a fluke, right? The problem is I made it really hard for him. Yeah? So it's a pretty amazing feat. So what's your world record?
Average of 5 is 8.52.
Average of 8.52 seconds. So that's 5 Rubik's Cube jumbled up in front of him, and then he solves them and has an average time of 8.52. So what was actually the fastest time there?
My fastest?
Of these 5 solves here?
My fastest in the competition is 7.94. The fastest ever single solve was 7.08.
7:08, so 7:08 seconds. So you're heading now for 5 seconds, right? first working up to the speed of light. So pretty damn amazing. So if somebody got a lot of money and wants to sponsor Felix to go to the World Championships, which are going to be when?
Well, they're every 2 years.
Okay.
One was last year in Germany.
Okay.
If I didn't go to that, and then next year it's Northern Hemisphere.
Okay, but anyway, Felix has a really good chance of being the next world champion, so hopefully he'll be able to go. So thank you very much. Maybe we'll have some time to get one of his friends out too. His friends wanted me to say that they've got something really important coming up.
Yeah, if Tim wants to come up.
Oh wait, Tim? Okay, first of all, can we all have a huge round of applause for Felix?
Let's see. I had a present for you.
No, I didn't. I didn't take it apart. Oh, have you got this one yet? Okay, thank you very much. Felix Cube. I'm going to have him sign one of mine later. Okay, so you just want to tell people what's going to happen soon in Melbourne?
On the 4th and 5th of September, we're having a competition, the Australian Nationals 2010 Rubik's Cube Tournament, and it'll be going for 2 days for 18 hours, and there'll be 17 different events, so if you can solve the cube, feel free to register online on speedcubing.com.au. And if you just want to check it out, you can come along at Melbourne Central, just near the Seiko Watch. There'll be all this just cubing all day, so you won't really miss out.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Hopefully that will get lots of you. Okay, so I knew that Felix was coming, so I'm going to race him now. Right. Okay, here we go. I've got a jumble up cube here. Can we have some people count down from 10 to 1? You two people? Okay, can you step in front here? I don't know, you've never seen these people before? Okay, can we turn around? And can we count down from 10 to 0, so let's jumble up cube, okay? So what I'll try to do is I'm going to try and solve it, okay? I'm going to try and solve it. Okay, you go 10, 9, 8, okay? Okay. Oh no, what do I do now? Still been jumbled. What do I do? Oh no! Solved! Thanks a lot. Go! Never bring the kids. Okay, just quickly to tell you, I mean, what does Felix actually do here? What does Felix actually do here? Well, so this is a jumbled up cube. You all know how to do the first layer, right? And then they also build it up in certain stages. So they might also just fix the first, the bottom layers here, and then they fix up the top layers. But the way they do it is, you know, we have this one move. Maybe we basically swap or cycle 3, and then it fixes something, and then we have to really think and do this again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. Do it a couple of times to get everything into position. So basically, we're just remembering, like beginners, only remember that we like 5 sequences of moves, and with those 5 sequences of moves, you just use them over and over and over again, you fix the cube. Felix doesn't do that. When he's, for example, fixed the bottom 2 layers, you know, those stickers at the top, like the yellow stickers, they come in different configurations. They can end up anywhere here. And for any of those configurations, he remembers a special sequence. Right? So to solve this here, he has to remember this many configurations, everything that's here. And overall, he remembers, instead of our beginners, 5 combinations, he remembers 120. Is it right? 120?
Well, not the ones on the left. I did them like 2.
Okay. So, but basically the one on the right, right? Yeah. Okay. So it's a lot of memory work, right? So you're putting a lot of memory work in, and then of course if you actually watch what his finger is doing, it's all very optimized. So every single sequence here, they've got exactly figured out how the fingers have to move to not waste any energy. And they're cubes. I mean, if he lets you touch his cube, just give one of the faces a spin, and it kind of keeps spinning. You know, so it's really good cubes. Don't try with anything like this, right? Okay, so there's a lot to this. All right, so that's speed cubing. If you go to their meetings, which are usually in Melbourne Central, they'll teach you all about it. Or there's also lots of this on the net. There's actually one clip here where Homer's doing some speed cubing. Just want to show you this one really quick.
Be a Glenn Gould performance, but I must say it's good as Gould.
Very short one, but anyway. Okay, now how much better can Felix get? How much better can Felix get? Let's just have a quick look at that. Right, that's God's algorithm. So how fast could God go with this? So if you give God a Rubik's Cube, how fast could God go? Well, to a large extent, this depends on, what's the minimum number of moves you need. So you take any scrambled cube, like this one here, and you can ask, what's the minimum number of moves it takes to restore this one? Well, it could be 1, right? So if this is my scrambled cube, this is 1. I need 1 move to fix this one. There's other combinations like this one that will take 2 moves to fix. So what's the worst you can get? What's the worst you can get? Well, I'll just show you. Okay. So this is pretty bad here. This is called the super flip. And what has happened here is you take every single one of the edges and flip it, leave all the corners unchanged. With this one, people know that it takes 20 moves to solve. There's ways to solve it in 20 moves, and there's no better way of doing it. Right? So I could have given Felix that one here. Maybe that would be bad, I don't know. Maybe he would have recognized it immediately and done it in 2 seconds, I don't know. Because he can definitely do 20 moves in 2 seconds. So anyway, and for a long time we had this, right? We knew that there could be 20 moves, and we had kind of an upper bound too. So people had figured out, doing a lot of number crunching, that with 22 moves you can do any configuration. So you take any scrambled cube, and people knew it could be done in 22 moves. And just this week, news has come out that we finally know what the number is. We knew that it was between 20 because of that guy and 22 because of the number crunching. Now with more number crunching, they've actually figured out that any combination can be done in 20 moves or less. So we know that God can always do it in 20 moves. What's God's average? Well, the beginner's average, if you learn one of those five methods, it's about more than 100 on average. So we'll do more than 100 moves, like twist of a face on average. Felix will do on average 55. So with all this memory work, you get it down to about 1/2. And then, if you remembered all the positions, which is kind of hard because it's 43 quintillion, right? Remember? So if you remember all those, recognize them in an instant and know what to do with every single one of them, you can do it in 20 moves or less, and actually the average would be 18. So there's a beginner's average, maybe 100, and Felix half of that, and then God 20, right? But there's still a bit of a gap between Felix and God, so Felix can probably maybe improve by memorizing like 500 different, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be very hard to improve on this, but maybe there's still some room. Okay, what comes next? When we've done all this, solve the cube, you go to the Melbourne Museum, and what do you see? Is that a Rubik's Cube?
No.
Why not? Yeah, well, that doesn't quite work, right? You shouldn't have. It's also not just 3, it's 5, right? It's 5. Minor point. But I've actually got something like this. It's a 5 times 5 times 5 Rubik's Cube. And your people solve that. Like Felix can do 5 times 5. What's your time for something like this? 1 minute 15. Mine is about 1 hour and something, you know. Okay, so what else can you do? So just a couple of examples here, a couple of really crazy cubes. So what have we got here? Oh, you've got the Mickey Mouse cube. The Mickey Mouse cube, so that moves like this. So you can turn it into the Ninja Mickey Mouse. And if you manipulate a little bit under, oh wait, it's another Ninja Mickey Mouse. And if you manipulate it in some other way, well, you can do that one. Or you can do this one. But you can really, you can completely mess it up. You can completely mess it up and then try to solve it. And that's basically the same as having a 2 times 2 times 2 cube, which I also have. I've got everything basically. So there's a 2 times 2 times 2, nice one. And then it goes up to 7 times 7 times 7, which takes me forever to use. Do they? Oh, I don't know. I don't really know. There's the hollow cube. There's the hollow cube. Moves exactly like the real Rubik's Cube. It's an absolute amazing thing in terms of the mechanics of this. You can have a look at these. I'm just going to put them here and play with them afterwards. No, you're not going to play with this one. No. Oh, here we've got a new one. It's a geared cube. So that really looks evil, that one here. So if you do this one here, the gears move. Oh, nice. Okay, gears move all over the place. Can you see that? All right. So try and solve that one. Then we've got the golden cube. That's the golden cube. That's all golden faces, but they're all screwed up. So when you mark up that one, it kind of explodes. So here we go. It gets more complicated, huh? So it's like this. And then you have to solve it. Well, you don't have any colors, so it's a bit of a challenge. Okay? And then what else have we got? Golden cube, this one, that one, hollow cube. Oh, this one is one on the web. That's a 4-dimensional cube, a hypercube. So we can do this in 4 dimensions. And then I've got a scube. A scube is also a cube, but it's cut like that. So it's got 4 cuts like this. You can get all these things. So just play with them a little bit. And then, what else? Well then, you've got stuff. It's actually not my collection, it's somebody else's collection. But you see that you've got spheres here, and they've got these nice dodecahedra. I've got one of those here. Always takes me forever to do them. And then soccer balls here. Lots and lots of different shapes. So lots of these twisty puzzles, hundreds of them you can explore. And maybe just one more thing before, just one more thing. If you actually have a cube, you can do lots of things with them. There's actually hundreds of puzzles hiding inside a cube. So for example, you could take off all the stickers and you get this. This is called the idiot's cube. It's fantastic, you know? But you can also just take off a couple of stickers, right? If you take off all the bottom stickers, then it becomes a really, really easy puzzle. Or here I've taken off some of the stickers, and that's actually the symbol of the Mass Association of Victoria, who sponsors this. So there, I've done one of those, taken all the corners out here. Or if you get rid of just the stickers, it turns into a much simpler puzzle. But what you can also do is, you can bandage the cube. So you bandage the cube. And then it becomes harder because you can't cut through those. So it becomes a very, very hard puzzle here. Another thing you can do is, if you've got just a regular cube, you can restrict yourself in what you're allowed to do. So you can restrict yourself, but just only allowed to do 180-degree turns. Right? So you can only do 180-degree turns, and you can mess up the puzzle like this, but then when you solve it, you can also only use 180-degree turns. So there are lots and lots of variations you can do. You can get rid of stickers, or you can bend it to cube, or you can do moves. You can just explore this on the internet. There are hundreds of different puzzles hiding within the cube. So another one would be, I hold it like this, and I don't let go, which fixes that whole part here. Now I can only move two faces. I'm only allowed to move two faces, can mix up things here, but then in the end I have to solve it again like this. Okay, and that's about it. I think we're running out of time now. We actually had somebody else here who wanted to do a blind solve. I don't know, do you all have to go somewhere else? You have to go somewhere else? No? No, in which case we've got somebody here who's going to demonstrate how to solve a cube blindfolded. So maybe if, Simon, do you know whether they're going to kick us out?
In about 10 minutes, but if you want to answer questions and so on, we'll need to be quick with the line.
Okay, so maybe we'll just try this once. Can we have the expert blindfold person give a go? Oh yeah. Okay, so I mean it's something pretty amazing. Somebody who can solve a cube blindfolded. Felix can do it too. I can do it behind my back. Okay, so I'm going to tumble this thing up extra heavy again, and